we could call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
Alderpersons Clem. Here. Monroe is absent. Simmons, Parker, and Stacy are absent. Shadle,
Here.
Sanders, here. And Sellers.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance, if we could, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And item 4 would be approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And is there any public comments on the sheet? There's nobody here. Passing that, then we move to item 6, which is the presentation by City Manager Boyer and Director Richter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight, as we move forward on our budget, we're going to discuss several items. We're going to discuss the general fund, including the mayor and city manager budget, the legal budget, the airport budget, police department budget, hearing administration budget, drug forfeiture fund budget, tourism fund budget, and the debt service fund budget. With that, I'd like to go ahead and let's see here. Any luck on that? I don't have it yet. Okay. Sorry. There you go. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the city manager and mayor budget. Wages included in this are the city manager, executive assistant, and the mayor. That's there at the first several items, obviously, the salaries, overtime, non-bargaining, social security withholdings, and that. Additionally, we have books and periodicals, just drawing attention to this item. So this is what covers the ILCMA, so that's the Illinois City Managers Association, and the Illinois City Managers Association. There's some community participation with Kiwanis and Rotary, and also the ICMA is included in this budget. Also, education and training. This includes attendance for the mayor and city manager at various conferences. Again, that's ILCMA for me, IML, and special initiatives to participate in there. I want to draw your attention also to ordinance codification. This occurs approximately twice a year. It ensures that local ordinances are always constant, well-organized, and easily accessible to the community. Our codified ordinances are accessible on the city's website. So, with that being said, I'd like to open the floor for any questions on the city manager and mayor budget.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair,
Alderman Clem.
couple if I could, please. First, it doesn't look like it according to the line item, but is there any intent in hire any non-bargaining people?
Not in this budget, no.
Okay. Then, could I move on to the next one?
Please.
Then I'm just going to ask this question. I don't care if it goes anyplace, okay? It seems like the mayor, the city manager, the community development person, so on and so forth, can go to all these meetings, so on and so forth, and have educational stuff, but the alderman can't. It's just a question.
Well, we did budget for IML this year for 2024 for, at your, we discussed that and we
Did we
included that.
budget for it though?
Yes,
No.
yes, we did.
Okay. That was just a question, was all.
Sure.
Okay.
Alderman Sellers.
Just want to know on the car allowance and what, I don't know what the rest of the line says. Is it moving or what is it? I don't know what that, car allowance?
So, yeah, under this item, from time to time, if there's a relocation for, say, a new city manager, that would be in here. Also, the car allowance is, I use my personal vehicle for city business, reoccurring all the time. Therefore, there's a reimbursement of just the general idea on what mileage and so forth would be. So that is what that item is for.
Alderman Sanders.
Brother Doyle, Boyle, was it? No, Rob Boyle, yeah. Boyle, right? Boyer.
Boyer.
Question, for the city manager to not have a company vehicle, that's not a practice or policy. Every vehicle that, that employees or employers have, well, maybe not the employer, but the waterworks guy used to have his own vehicle. But the thing is, we have never seen that ever practice that a city manager do not have a city vehicle. And I was just curious, why is that now, in that we have to fork out a budget for it? It has to come into the budgets and things of that nature, and I just wanted to get a clear understanding of that.
I can shed light on that, Alderman Sanders.
Mayor, go ahead.
This is all three city managers that we've had. It's part of their negotiating contract for vehicle allowance, so it's nothing new. It was paid to the first one, the second one, and the third one.
Well,
And so it's budgeted in each cycle because it's according to the contract.
is it under the city's insurance policy?
Car allowance is a part of the contract. They pay their own insurance.
Pay no insurance by way of the city?
No, it's their own personal vehicles.
So
It was
they
an
pay their own
allowance.
insurance. Okay, all right. That's what
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, she answered.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Clem.
I just want to do a follow-up. And I'm not trying to be a horse's patoot, but this is a question, okay? What happens if you're on city business in your vehicle and you have an accident? Do you have anything that comes under any kind of special bonding or umbrella policy or anything else that's covered?
It is covered under my car insurance, my personal car insurance.
But I guess my question is, what if somebody comes back to the city? If you're on city business? I'm just, like I say, I'm just asking because it could be a crisis thing that could either financially break you or us or a combination of, and that's the only reason I ask it. Maybe it's something we should check farther into. That's all I'm asking.
Agreed, and I can definitely do that.
And I also.
Alderman Sanders.
Okay, and I also want to express the ethics behind it. There's ethics of impropriety could occur with a vehicle that's not identified by the city. And that means you squandering around the city in a city vehicle, and now in a personal vehicle, but we don't know what the intents of that vehicle is in certain locations about the employees, the employers, all the city workers, even the residents of this city can't identify what your vehicle represents. And so that is an injustice for the city. Oh, now, if that's been practiced for the last 3 years, it was totally wrong for that to be practiced because all of our vehicles for the city are to be identified. And they should have their decals and everything flashing like lights as you travel throughout the city so residents can see who you are, see what your intents are in their residence, and just not a vehicle just passing through or what the purpose of it's going through the community. So I'm just asking that because it's played off like it hasn't been something that was taken into consideration at the city manager's position or
I-
anybody's position.
I would like to add that I think the last city-owned mayor's vehicle would have been, I believe it was handed from Mayor McElroy to Dick Weiss.
Gorup had one.
Did he have one as well?
With the engine in it.
None of those were marked, as far as I know. It was a vehicle for them to handle business with, but we're not gonna purchase and maintain a city vehicle for $2,400 a year. So Yeah.
I have to disagree with you on that simply because you negated everything I said by saying what you said. And that's not the proper way to do that because if it's clearly something that's not handled right, and I just explained to everyone about the citizens of this city make these kinds of decisions for the council to look into these matters. We don't want to be in a meeting and then we have this on our agenda talking about why don't the city manager has a company vehicle. That's all I'm saying. Because if it's not something that was really practiced since the last few times that we had a city manager, I think all vehicles should be identified. Workers should not see their city manager drive up in a, how do I want to describe it? A car that is not in compliance with the decals of the city, you know, and then they'll go on about their work and forget and don't recognize the fact that you're on their presence, that you're in their surrounding. You have to give the workers an opportunity to see who you are and the residents to see who you are when you're traveling through the city. You're no different than any other city worker that works throughout the city. And so that means that if I see your vehicle in a place that it should not be, I want to be able to question what's the purpose and the relevancy of this.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off there. For that to happen, we would have to purchase a vehicle and maintain it with fuel, insurance, parts, and repairs. And on today's budget proposal, it's $2,400
For a city
for us
manager.
to reimburse him for use of his vehicle. So I really can't see how we're gonna come up with $30,000 to $40,000 to purchase a vehicle and maintain it when we're out the door on today's budget for $2,400. But
Is this
if you could make note, Madam Clerk, that Alderman Monroe is present. Thank you.
Yeah, well, my thing is.
We're gonna move on.
No.
We're gonna move on.
I got the floor.
Manager
right
Boyer,
now. I got the
no,
floor
sir,
right
you were
now.
not recognized.
Oh, you're gonna just cut me off and don't recognize me at the same time. Where does that?
Manager Boyer has the floor, please.
Okay, we'll.
Please advance the slide.
Because you're not just gonna skate over something that I feel is important to be said. You're not gonna sit there as a chairman and do that. So you better be ready, because I'm coming at that question again.
Yep.
Don't start today with me. That's what you don't do.
Welcome to the crowd.
I think we've got a little technical. Okay. Legal. This is. So this budget is for the consulting of attorneys for both labor issues and general consulting. So we have various times where it's a little more or a little less depending upon what's going on at the time versus like negotiations versus none. So you'll notice that 2023 is kind of falling on track. We've got some things coming up that we're budgeting for here in the 2024 budget year. So any questions on legal?
Alderman Simmons?
Sorry, Rob, just to backtrack for a minute. So if we're still trying to get clarification, you can just refuse to give the floor?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
If one of us is trying to get clarification and has a follow-up question
Yeah,
and is following the decorum, how do you refuse to give the floor?
the comment was made, his point was made. I answered his point, and we move on.
If he has
He-
a follow-up, how do we move on?
He said the same thing 3 times already.
Again,
He made his point.
if he has a follow-up and he's following decorum, how do you not give him the floor? If it is not an agenda item, I understand that. If he is out of order, I understand that. But if he is following decorum and asking for the floor, he should be recognized so that we can all get the clarification that we need. I'm sorry it wasn't as quick as you thought it should be, but if we still need clarification, please don't refuse to give us the floor
Okay.
if we're following decorum. Sorry, Rob, to interrupt you.
Manager Boyer.
Okay. Do we have any questions on the legal budget? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next one. This would be airport. A little more extensive than the last. So currently, we contract with the airport management that runs through September 30th. So there's a change there coming September 30th. We're accounting for that under our airport management line item. Also, we've got contracted building repair and maintenance. We've got Hangar J that we're anticipating spending about $80,000 to repair that roof. And then also, we've got some terminal updates that we're budgeting for here. So if you're familiar with the airport, I'm sorry to be repetitive, but we have a terminal building that was blown down several years ago. It was reconstructed, and the offices and so forth are waiting funding. So we've budgeted $50,000 this year to move forward with those improvements there. Also, real estate taxes. Because we were collecting hangar rents, we were required to pay property taxes at the airport, so that's why we have line item, let's see here. Let's see, the property tax item. 610, thank you. Also, machinery and equipment. We've had a John Deere mower that gets a lot of hours put on it out there, and we are budgeting $23,000 for replacement of a commercial mower out there. Right now, the John Deere is still working, but we want to make sure that we don't want to drive it down to its last leg and then have it breaking down on us while the grass continues to grow. So we've budgeted for that this year. Also, airport projects, line 7050 and 7052. We currently have 3 active federally funded projects. The city has already paid our share of the project, and these are the rehab T-hangar access taxiways, rehab of taxiway A and runway connectors, and security and fencing improvements. So those are, and just to give you a heads up on that, they're heavily subsidized by the federal government, and we get substantial grant funds for these projects where we spend just a few $1,000s and we get a substantial match on those. So the total cost for the rehab T-hangar access, the total cost was $355,000. The federal share was $319,500. The state share was $17,750. And the city share was $17,750. So as you can see, for an outlay of $17,000, we're getting a return of over $340,000. Moving down to the taxi or the rehab taxiway A and runway connectors, again, that was a total cost of $900,000. The federal share was $810,000. The state share was $45,000, and the city's share was $45,000. So these are really quite powerful in terms of receiving matching funds to continue to maintain the airport and to maintain the asset here in the city. On the fencing, we The total cost was $330,000. The federal share was $297,000. The state share was $16,500, and the city share was $16,500. That's perimeter security there. We have 2 new projects pending that are included in the 2024 budget. Construction of the Southwest Terminal Entrance Road. The total cost of that is $550,000 with a state share or state match of $495,000 and a city share of $55,000. And then lastly, we have the rehab runway, the PAPI system. That is part of the control systems and what with the lighting, runway lighting. So there's about $800,000 is the total cost, with $720,000 as federal match, $40,000 for state match, and $40,000 for local match. So again, we're continuing to maintain this asset in the community with the assistance of federal and state dollars that far outweigh the local funds used. So why you're not seeing this in the airport budget is the revenue side of the grant income coming in. So you're not seeing that side of the equation here in this particular part of the budget. You will see that on the revenue side under the general fund budget review. And then for the city contribution of $174,200, we're receiving another $2,760,750 in improvements to the airport. Any other questions on the airport budget?
Alderman Monroe?
Thank you. So city manager, we've heard, kind of rumors and street talk about overflow at Rockford due to, cargo and things like that. What are we doing? What is the plan right now to kind of enhance the airport, lengthen the runway, whatever it takes to get some of that cargo opportunity here so we can basically monetize it?
That's a great question. Now, as far as the cargo traffic, that is a different question, which is, I'm not sure we're working on that specifically, but it's the displacement of current industries at Rockford Airport who no longer have a home. And we're continuing to pursue that and get the word out within various venues to ensure that companies that know that they're moving out of Rockford, that Freeport's here and we are accessible for them at a much more cost-effective rental rate.
Alderman Sellers?
Just want to know, with the 155,460, that is airport management. What does that consist of?
It is what we pay our contractor to manage the day-to-day operations at the airport. You have to have certifications. You have to be able to run traffic in and out of the airport safely, and then also dealing with the renters and the hangars and making sure that all the businesses are getting have access to whatever it is that they need out there. It's also dealing with the actual people in the hangars as we rent those out. Somebody has to manage and make sure that those are being paid and we're receiving payments for that. So, but generally just overall operations at the minute. It also includes interfacing with CMT and some of our partners to continue to maintain and build out and improve the airport.
Alderman Sanders?
City Manager Rob. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to understand our main focus and goals and purposes, and why is it relevant to have the residents of the city of Freeport maintaining an airport when it's not a self-sufficient profit program that we're financing. This first time I ever seen a budget for the airport, didn't even recognize the fact that we have that kind of investment into this thing. I wonder how long have we been involved in this, and why are we subsidizing anything for an airport if it does not help the citizens of the city of Freeport of all of its activities and whatever work they're doing out there. I'm trying to find a purpose and the relevancy of this airport. And I'd like for you to give me a little details on that, and what is the purpose and what are we focusing on out there?
Well, I will say it's a key part of our infrastructure in terms of we service corporate and industrial clients who use their private jets, fly in to help manage their operations. That's one part of it. So if we had, let's put it this way, I think Harbor Freight, for instance, is an example. When they were scouting out a new location for their store here in Freeport, that was an asset that came into play there. We also have folks from all over the state and really all over the country that do use that airport for operations that they have access to that. It was built out primarily during the days when we had Honeywell and Newell. A lot of those improvements were paid by those companies, and that's kind of created a big asset for us to allow access to continue with our economic development efforts. But all else being equal, it is an asset that needs to be maintained if we continue to grow our economics here in Freeport.
Alderman Sanders.
Okay. Well, the question I like to ask now, how does it profit the citizens here in the Freeport, as far as revenue, for investing in programs? Are we divvying out more than we're taking in? And I want to know, we don't see it in our budget of what is, or line item things that are, excuse me, I don't want to use this to interrupt or spam me. Okay. But I just want to make sure that it's being productive for the citizens of Freeport. Give them an idea what the purpose of because we're talking decades here with this airport, and I don't think everybody's been keeping up beat with it because it's not been reported in a forum like this or a quorum like this. Find a justifiable reason why this is serving the citizens of Freeport.
Well, the justifiable reason is it is a piece of infrastructure that without it would definitely limit our ability to attract and retain future customers and future businesses here in town, industries here in town. So it's kind of a key piece of infrastructure. It may not be completely paying for itself in terms of cash flow, but it's an important asset in our community for current and future growth opportunities.
Alderman Monroe.
Yes, I'd like to weigh in a little bit. Small municipal airports are critical to the infrastructure of any small community because they allow any business to come in immediately, examine the infrastructure, examine the city. So if you're going to bring a business in, you have to have that. And I know at the tire plant, their CEO flies in on a regular basis. We have other CEOs that fly in on a regular basis. They come here to look at products that Honeywell makes. They come here to look at products that other vendors make. They can examine it and they can get back out. That type of infrastructure is critical. And many years ago, people questioned why we have such a big airport, why so much investment in the airport in Rockford. Well, now that airport is turning multi-million-dollar opportunities to the citizens of that community, not only via normal air traffic for, like sun vacations or others like that, but cargo. And that airport is growing into a massive cargo destination because it's cheaper to fly into Rockford, distribute that same content all over the area. So the Amazons of the world, the FedExes, UPS, and on and on. So, one of the big questions I have, are we putting enough into this airport? Because that growth is what's going to bring business here. If we want to create jobs for the citizens of Freeport and grow our tax base, that's the kind of stuff we have to do in order to grow it out and to see the future. Holding back, for so long, if we looked at everything, does it bring a profit to the city? There's a lot of things we would cut. A lot of different organizations within our tax base that would get cut. So, we can't always look at it as a profit margin. We have to look at it in the overall good that it does for the community. I mean, the police department, I guess they could start charging per arrestee, but they're not a profit margin area. They are a protection of this community. The airport is critical to any future growth that we have. And I mean, that's the reason why the Hy-Vees of the world even look at Freeport. And that's why, you know, Sterling Rock Falls didn't have the same opportunity. So I'll leave it at that.
Alderman Sanders.
Yeah, but this particular
Oh, they're coming.
venture that you're talking about, we see more business leaving the city than traffic coming in to support the city. And then we're asking taxpayers to lay down their dollars for an airport, maintaining it, and everything of that nature for corporate people coming in and look, and obviously you didn't do no one has done the overview to see, is it worth it for corporations like the ones over here on Hancock using our roads, don't want to pitch in, they don't want to help the city out, and I see that as a negative for the city of Freeport when we're talking about this particular airport that we're investing in and not getting no return on the dollar. And you just can't put up a item like that and don't see the future to see where the profit is going to be generated. You just can't just stick a building on a property and don't look at your future investments or corporate companies coming in to visit and got to stretch a new highway or roadway for traffic for the airport. We just can't just allow that to be trampling over the citizens of Freeport when there's no investment, when there's no contribution, when there's no understanding what is its purpose. But you're saying you've been speaking totally against profits and corporations and the fact that we need to do good by them. Well, these entities are not doing good by the city and not making proper contributions. And we have not did a thorough look at the situation. We're going on hyperbole and things of that nature to find out, is it working for us? We have not done an evaluation. There has been no observation. There's nothing in the report that creates anything for the city itself. But we got a lump of land out there that's got airplanes just flying all in and out of Freeport, and they're not pushing in profits for any industries and things like that. We don't have that capability too much anymore. But just look around you and see where the commercial planes are or the B-3s are hauling products and things of that nature to the city of Freeport when they and the way that they're doing things now today, it seems to be working out just fine. So I don't think we should be trying to minimize this conversation just because you want to talk about companies that wants to do business here in Freeport. Where are their contribution? Where is the contribution? Why aren't we seeing any kind of dividends for the citizens of Freeport? Yeah.
Alderman Monroe.
Yes, since we want to go down this road, I'm happy to oblige. What these companies do to help the city out is create jobs. And the people that work in the city actually pay taxes, property taxes, income taxes, gas taxes, all kinds of taxes, something we're going to talk about a lot tonight. And that's what they do for the community. And actually, if you look at companies like Anchor Harvey and others, they do a lot for this community, a ton. They give back all the time. And they're constantly giving back. And they're doing advertising on the billboards, which funds and helps other companies like our radio stations and other types of things like that. So to say they do nothing is a big stretch. I guess I'm trying to figure out which companies are doing nothing, because most of them have employees that are paying taxes. They're paying corporate taxes. They're paying water bills, all of those types of things. I mean, their water bills are, you guys can speak to this more than I can. It's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly to quarterly. So they do a lot in this community, and we have to be thankful for that. We also have to increase the opportunities for people who want to move here, because if we don't have ample opportunity for jobs, nobody's going to move here. Eventually, organizations, the school district, FHN, others are going to feel this type of pressure as people continue to move away. Those are going to create job losses by not having the jobs here.
Alderman Sanders.
Okay. We don't have such a staff to oversee any of these types of job opportunities. We're struggling trying to promote in this city companies to come in and be part of our community, but that's not happening. It hasn't happened over 20 years. And so where are you getting your assessment and your analysis? Where are you generating this? This just can't be something rolling off the top of your head. Some committee has to know the future of these airports, find the bad lemons that are not working, get rid of it. And so this city has been under this kind of umbrella for years. And for you to come here and say that this is what they're doing and this is what potentially can happen, we're not going to move on a speculation that you think is going to may happen. We have to make sure that we have some kind of department area that is promoting and guaranteeing and working with potential companies to even move to Freeport. But that's not what we're doing. We don't have that in our area right now, because if it had been something where we're promoting for new companies to come in to facilitate jobs to Freeport, I'd like to see that department area where they're soliciting other companies to move to Freeport. I like to see that committee so we can see where it's promoting effort. Right now, we don't have efforts going on, and you throwing this out there like it could happen. It ain't happening over 20-something years, and yet you're pushing this thing out there like it's a fact. It's not a fact that they're doing this.
The committee that would be doing that promoting would be the Greater Freeport Partnership.
Oh, yeah?
And community development.
And community
And airport
development.
management.
Mm-hmm. And the city manager and the mayor.
Alderman
Yeah.
Simmons.
So, Mr. Sanders, is what you're saying is you'd like to see a plan,
That's right.
what that plan is?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we don't see none of those items or this discussion even come to the council. We have not had that, but the thing of, I'm sorry, I was out
Go
of
ahead.
order. The thing is, we don't see where future budgeting and things like that for these line items that we're referring to. We don't see none of that evidence here at the city, but you say there is. You mentioned Greater Freeport. Be careful about mentioning Greater Freeport, okay? Because that's a whole different ball game that you're dancing down with. And here's the thing. We need to make sure that these products or whatever that's been invested into these things, that it suits the people. We have not given the people a chance to speak out on a lot of things that we're talking about here in this chamber. And so now we have to start making sure that we're promoting the interest of the residents of this city, not the interest of a few that's on this council. We just can't do that. And it's obvious to the viewers because they're commenting about it. And we're pretending like it's not evidence that we're projecting stuff that we're not doing or can't do at this time. I shouldn't say can't do, but at this time we're not doing it. But yet you lay it out there as if though it's a good thing or it's been a good thing, and it has not. It has not been a good thing. Yeah, I would know. Yeah, and the thing about it is, we're trailing up a river without a paddle, or down a river without a paddle, which way this boat is going to float. But nevertheless, it is not recommended for us to keep not patronize it, but pacifying these airports and these other business that's not doing a just due to the people of the city. I'm focusing on what the things that the city should be doing, and a lot of this stuff is obsolete. It needs to be upgraded. You guys talking about spending $50,000 just now on a airport that hasn't shown the citizens of Freeport where the dividends are coming in, where's the pay coming in at, where's the idea that the residents of the city are getting their just due for their tax dollars.
Mr. Chairman.
Alderperson Stacy?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Manager Boyer?
We haven't actually looked at the revenue side of this. There's a whole revenue side to this line item, so I just want to make sure we have,
Okay.
hangar rentals, we have the income from the federal, from the state, and those type of things. So we haven't got to that yet, but we will.
Okay.
Not tonight, but we'll get to it when we get into the general revenue.
Alderperson Stacy?
Yes, how many airplanes, and this question have been asked before, do we have even coming into this airport?
I don't have that figure in front of me. I can get that to you. I'll have to ask the airport manager to compile those numbers. Actually, I have asked her to work on a report, and I haven't received it back yet. So we'll get that to you as soon as we have it.
Alderperson Stacy?
Okay, at one while we were asking for 200,000 to pave the airport, am I correct?
I mean, we've done a number of different projects there. One of them is a road project. One of them was the apron.
No, I'm talking about this year when it came to the council about
Yep.
$200,000 to pave.
I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we did a crack seal estimate that involved the airport. They did do the crack sealing. But as far as paving is concerned, I have to look back.
And at
the
that
record.
time, I said there was $106,000 already budgeted for the airport. What was that money used for? And I received no answer even on that.
We can get that for you. Okay, I'd like to move on to the police budget.
Alderman Sanders had one last.
Yeah, I want to further that discussion.
One quick comment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Question. Is there an overseer, a site overseer, for this airport? Is the city properly doing their homework to see if there's any impropriety going on, and to see if anything that is nefarious that is happening out there at the airport? Because here's the reason why I say that, is because we don't have an overseer in sight, or otherwise you would have answered that question right away. And the fact that we don't have somebody watching the doghouse.
Mr. Chairman, he's completely out of line. Completely.
I'm sorry. You need to take your time like everybody else and don't impose on other people's questioning, okay? Because that's part of the problem right there. Nobody's justifying or questioning the ethics
Can we get back on point?
that you're making, okay? And so I'd like to see that in place so we can get a update, so we can get updates on these kinds of matters, because there's a lot of suspicious things that might be occurring that we have no understanding or know about. And so the thing is, we need to go back and vet our property staff and seeing who's running these types of administration. Do they have an administration? Where's the money going to? And who's utilizing the money, and why we're having problems with budgeting.
I believe we get a yearly report from the airport manager, do we
We
not?
do, yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I've asked the airport manager to provide me a monthly status update on various initiatives, progress on different things we're working on, that type of thing. So that should be included with the at least once a month in the council, or the weekly, update.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'd like to move on to the police budget. So just quick touching base on some of these here. We have a total staffing of 70, 38 bargaining officers, 12 non-bargaining officers, 1 social worker, 1 admin, 2 records support, and 12 full-time telecommunicators and 4 part-time. So on AFSCME, we found an error on the calculation of the telecommunicators, and we'll need to circle back on this item later. We had 2 employees as part-time when they should have been considered full-time. Police pension contribution is determined by our actuary. The amount of that is $361,400. It is just an estimate, so every year we estimate a number and put it in the budget and then adjust as necessary. The actual number will not be known until next year. Also on consulting services, that includes grant writing support, language line, and Lexipol. And computer software has been moved to the ICT budget, and that is the ShotSpotter project, ShotSpotter capability. So with that, I'd like to open the floor with any questions. However, we have several more items to go along, and we're running short on time. So if we could do our best to keep the questions to fairly concise.
Alderman Sellers.
I just want to know with the line item with the clothing allowance, is that 62,000 for uniforms and all that kind of stuff? Uniforms for?
For our officers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Alderperson Stacy.
Yes, the overtime on non-bargaining, like, who would that involve?
I'd like to ask Chief Schemberger to weigh in on that.
The police sergeants, they would be non-bargaining. They're hourly.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Clem.
Just a question. The budget's going up about $215,000. Is that enough for new officers that you'd like to hire? That's what.
I'm going to also ask the chief to weigh in on this, but as I understand it, that is a good figure, and that is moving in the right direction for us. But Chief, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, we're still understaffed, so we have
Right.
some wiggle room there, yeah.
No, I mean, what I'm basically saying is I don't think you have enough. I mean, if we're going to put an emphasis on safety and hiring officers, then my question was just, do you have enough in there for that?
Yeah, the personnel figures, I didn't calculate those, that was done by finance, but we still have to make up with some retirements and stuff. I think it will be enough at this point. Our goal is to get to our maximum manpower. It's gonna be hard to get there, but that's what our goal is by next year.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Alderperson Stacy.
Yes, I have a question on contracted vehicles. What does that entail?
Chief, you want to add to that?
Yeah, look at her.
I believe that's 6180. I'm sorry. Well, that's vehicle repair. So,
Oh, it's repairs?
no, it is, we have contracted equipment repair and contracted vehicle repair, so
Yeah,
that
that's
would be,
cut off, yeah.
yeah, that would be, if we send a vehicle to the dealer for repairs. And we are in the process of bringing that in-house. We're proposing an additional mechanic for the Public Works Department this year. And that primary goal of that person would be to work on police and any other equipment that we could do in-house.
Anything else?
Okay.
Manager?
Thank you. Next one is hearing admin. So this essentially is the legal expense related to administrative hearing process, looking to increase the numbers of hearings. Therefore, you see a uptick in the the funding or the proposed budget there. So Nicole Bauer that does our code enforcement hearings, we're looking at increasing the number of code enforcement hearings. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, drug forfeiture fund. The police department utilizes this fund to collect state forfeited funds. The fund has a surplus from last year that we are projecting to use about $9,000. Expenses of the fund include software for evidence systems, subscription lead online, and drug evidence disposal costs. So any questions on the drug forfeiture fund?
Is there a possibility that we could implement some more of the Ring doorbell?
I think it's
Items
quite
out.
possible. Yes, I think that
More of a game day decision as the budget unfolds,
sir.
but
yes.
something we could keep in mind.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Moving on, we've got about 3 minutes here. This last one is the tourism fund. Let's see. So the revenue for the tourism fund are generated by the 5% hotel motel tax. Expenses of this fund include support for the Greater Freeport Partnership, miscellaneous expenses like festivals, and transfer to general fund of $25,000 to support the wages of communications director. So we're in part dealing with our communications director as part of that.
Alderperson Stacy?
What would be miscellaneous that would cost $10,000?
Could involve support of local festivals.
Local festivals.
Yep.
Alderman Sellers?
I just want to know, so you're saying that we're going to pay out 240, or did we receive the 240,000 for the hotel motel tax? You know, are you saying, is that what you're saying? So what's the 240 for the hotel motel tax? That's what we received, right?
So, we received we're estimating 246,000 coming in, and then approximately 211,000 for GFP. The miscellaneous is 10,000 and 25,000 for transfer out. That is back to the general fund. So this is generating a positive balance that's going back to general fund.
Alderman Shado, I have a question.
Alderperson Sellers?
Just looking at year-to-date activity, is that or is that my paper, is that a negative 96, or is that something on my paper? That 96,000 is,
Well, we're only halfway through the year, so the revenue hasn't been generated as of the date of this report. That's probably what you're seeing there. So the expenses are being itemized, but the revenue, this is not reflecting the rest of the year for 2023.
Alderman Stacy, did you have something again?
Yes, for 2023, that's 216,400, correct? But we're only at, and that's what was estimated to bring in, correct?
Yes.
And we're only at 129,527.91 with only 3 months left.
Well, in this report, let's see, this was generated recently, so it should come out to about 260. It should come out close to that revenue estimate. So, and that's the best we can do. We don't know 100% what we're going to receive, but we do our best estimate on that.
If I could add too, these are taxes that are collected at the local level, sent to state, and then come back.
Yep.
So it's not like we see them readily.
Right.
There's a time frame.
There's a little bit of a lag there.
Okay, so when they come back, where do they go?
They go into and like I mentioned here, they get used, like I said, for GFP, We have some miscellaneous expense, and then we transfer some of the funding out to cover the costs of, or some of the costs related to the communication director. So they go into general fund into various accounts.
General funds and communication director?
Yes.
Alderman Shadow, I have one more question.
Alderman Sellers.
Me or?
Sellers, yeah.
So we're getting $211,000 from the Greater Freeport Partnership that's what we're giving out at expense?
Yes, we are giving out, we are supporting GFP with part of this fund. So 211,000 from this fund goes to the Greater Freeport Partnership. And we have a total, a little over $500,000 per year in support to GFP.
So what is our total income that we give if we give out $500,000? How much do we get in return?
Well,
mean,
this
that's a
was,
lot of money.
so at one point in time, when the GFP was put together, they were consolidating several different organizations the city was supporting. The downtown organization, other economic development. I think there's about 3 or 4 of them, and I'm sorry I'm not completely, I don't have those at the tip of my tongue, but the whole idea was it actually saved the city money from what they were supporting in the past to all those other individual organizations. So it was consolidated into just the GFP when that change was made several years ago.
Alderman Stacy.
So the 211,000, is that part of the 485,000 we're already giving them? Or is that in additional to?
That is part of it. That is not in addition to, that's part of the total support.
Anything else? I believe they have time for the last, or do we need to move on?
604.
You continue quickly, we can
Okay.
get this over.
Moving on to the debt service fund. So a debt service fund is a type of fund used primarily by government entities to account for the accumulation of resources and payments of principal and interest on long-term obligation debt. The city has issued 10 bonds. A listing is on this slide. Whenever the city issues a bond, a funding source is identified. We move forward from the designated funding source to the debt service fund and then pay the bond from the debt service fund. This is per government accounting standards and essentially is a pass-through and accounted for in this manner. So just touching base on a few of these. So some of these have been on the books for quite a while, and some of them, or most of them are, so.
Any questions on that?
Can,
Alderman Stacy.
can you explain this TIF for me?
Actually, Michelle, or Director Richter, are you available there?
Yes, I'm here.
Alderman Stacy would like you to describe or expand on item 8030, principal TIF.
Principal TIF, TIF, is that the one she's asking?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well.
That's okay.
My apologies. Principal TIF, that just means that one of the TIF funds is helping to pay one of these bonds. So years ago, there was some work done in the downtown TIF that was bonded. And so the downtown TIF supports a portion of one of our bonds.
Alderman Sellers.
just like to know, what is the balance in that TIF fund? Is that the,
Which fund?
the TIF, the downtown TIF?
The downtown TIF?
Is that the 115?
Michelle, what's the balance of the downtown TIF?
If you give one moment, please, let me check. The balance of equity in the downtown TIF is about $200,000. No, I'm sorry, let me correct that. $290,000.
Thank you.
Anything else? Manager?
Okay, that is it for today, so thank you very much.
Item 7 would be any discussion. Number 8 would be public comment on agenda or non-agenda items, 3 minutes per person. And item 9 would be adjournment.
So moved.
I'll move. Second.
Motion by Clem, second by Sellers for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?